origin of the universe is that there was an event that took place, we call it the Big Bang. Prior to about 1/100th of a second after this event took place, we really can't go back that far.
Physicists say the universe came out of nothing in a single burst of light that created an environment receptive to carbon-based life. The Bible says that too, in the book of Genesis. Some evolutionists say the light which suddenly formed everything in the universe was an explosion called the Big Bang. They say that explosion created all the order we see today. The Bible agrees that the universe came into being suddenly, not by an explosion, but by an act of God. Evolution can't say what or who created the universe. But where did that first matter and energy in the universe come from?
There was energy there. Well, where did the energy come from? And so there's a point where you can't go back any further. You just have to say, I quit.
When a universe just suddenly comes into existence, the known laws of science go out the door. British physicist Stephen Hawking stated the obvious conclusion that we'd all have to concede if we're honest.
So long as the universe had a beginning, we could suppose it had a creator.
Exactly. The Bible says God created the universe, all the life in it, all the chemicals, and then set in motion the laws of science.
Did the Big Bang trigger the formation of galaxies, stars, planets, and ultimately life?
Is there any order coming out of a big explosion? I would say not in any way. Explosions cause chaos and random distribution of various parts that were there perhaps as a united organization beforehand. Any explosion renders that completely null and void. There is no evidence in my mind that an explosion or even the Big Bang Theory can ultimately produce organized beings like ourselves or any other animal.
You see, the whole Big Bang idea really is first there was nothing and then it exploded.
Think about it. Have you ever heard of an explosion that has produced order? Do you understand what I'm asking you? The question is, can a bomb from a terrorist form a Rolex watch from the various materials available in the area when it explodes? Of course not. It's absurd to even consider. And yet, that's basically what scientists have tried to convince themselves in an effort to come to a conclusion. Any conclusion other than a divine God created the universe. Would you like to try your own scientific experiment? To prove the Big Bang Theory is possible, here's what you need to do. First, empty your garage of every piece of metal, wood, leather, paint, rubber, and plastic. Sweep it clean. There can't be a single element present that would normally be used in making a car. Nothing. Now, wait for 10 years and see if a Mercedes-Benz spontaneously forms in your garage. That doesn't work. Wait for 20 years. That doesn't work. Maybe 100. Maybe it's 10,000 or 250 million. Because that's what it takes to have the same blind faith that you would need to believe that evolution and the Big Bang Theory formed life from absolutely nothing.
Science can find no force in nature that might account for the beginning of the universe, and it can find no evidence that the universe even existed before that moment. Scientists have no proof that life was not the result of an act of creation. To their chagrin, they have no clear-cut answer. The astronomical and biblical accounts of Genesis are alike in one essential respect. There was a beginning, and all things in the universe can be traced back to it. Robert Justro, agnostic, founder of NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies.
What do you have to believe in order to believe in Darwin's theory of evolution? Well, before any of the other contradictions we've already discussed about the process itself, you have to believe that the beginning of the universe happened all by itself. Every complex organism, every spectacularly designed planet, every remarkable creature, including the entire universe and galaxies of planets and solar systems that operate in perfect clockwork precision, all happened without a creator. You have to believe it was all formed from an explosion. To make note of this, you'll have to believe that it was all formed from an explosion out of absolutely nothing. Now that's blind faith.
If the sun, planets, and moons evolved from the same material, they should have many similarities. Yet each planet is unique. Since about 98% of the sun is hydrogen or helium, Earth, Mars, Venus, and Mercury should have similar compositions. Instead, much less than 1% of these planets is hydrogen or helium. If the solar system evolved, all planets should spin in the same direction. But Pluto and Venus rotate backwards, while Uranus is tipped on its side and rotates like a wheel. All moons in our solar system should orbit their planets in the same sense. But at least 6 have backward orbits. Furthermore, Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter have moons orbiting in both directions. Growing a planet by many small collisions will produce an almost non-spinning planet, since the impacts will be largely self-canceling. Yet, all planets spin, some much more than others. Growing a large, distant, gaseous planet such as Jupiter or Saturn poses an insurmountable hurdle for evolutionists, because gases dissipate rapidly in the vacuum of outer space. And even young stars, similar to our Sun, do not have enough orbiting hydrogen or helium to form even one Jupiter. Scientists have no answer as to why 4 planets have rings, or why each planet is so unique. Theories on the moon's origin are also completely inadequate. The moon's elements are too dissimilar to those of Earth's, and its orbital plane and circular orbit offer strong evidence that the moon was created in its present orbit.
There is no evidence that the planetary system could have come about by mechanical means. However, the more that scientists began to look at the amazing universe that they inhabited, they began to realize that there were certain factors that were simply very, very fine-tuned for the existence of man, of molecules, of organic life. And the more they looked, the more they realized that we are in effect on really quite a knife edge, and there are many, many indications that this universe has been very specially designed, and man is at the very center of it.
If we try to model the universe as we know it, as we try to build a mathematical model that reflects what we know, we quickly discover there are thousands of parameters and ratios that if you adjust them even a little bit, life is impossible. We quickly discover that the Earth was a little closer, a little further from the Sun. It's either too warm or too cold. If it turns at a little different speed, if the masses are a little different, it would hold too much or too little atmosphere. As you start trying to model this, you quickly discover that all the parameters involve an incredibly delicate balance.
The truth is, the world didn't begin with a mindless, meaningless explosion called the Big Bang. The world began when God created it.
You see, God gave you and me a conscience. And then he gave us an entire universe that speaks of order and design and unimaginable complexity. And that speaks undeniably of a creator. Evolution is a lie, and the fact that you and I are created by and responsible to a creator God is an obvious fact. So really, now I'm talking to those holdouts who consider themselves to be scientific and intellectual. This is really not about convincing your intellect. It's about setting aside your pride and listening to your conscience. And it's mostly about bending your knee to the creator God of the universe. Evolution is nothing more than an elaborate path that some men have devised to suppress the truth so they can run away from God. Don't let men who are suppressing the truth by their wickedness rob you of the glory and blessing of knowing and living for and being blessed by the God who created you. I'm Janet Folger. May God bless you and keep you.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.